welcome back to another episode of God Built This Podcast. I'm your host, Maxine, and we're on episode 200. Hello. So, let me just start off by saying this. I know in the last episode, I probably came off as a Dahmer apologist. And I am. I'm kidding. It's a joke. I'm not an apologist. I'm not. Look, here's how I look at conversations, you guys. It's boring to talk about the obvious. Obviously, it's horrible what he's done, right? You know, the victims, the survivors, you know, the family who have to still just deal with the trauma of their loved ones brutally murdered and chopped. Like, all that is horrible, disgusting. Like, I'm not condoning that. That's all. Like, we don't have to talk about the obvious, right? Like, I shouldn't have to come on here and obviously state I don't condone these actions. You know what I mean? I just like to come from the perspective of, why do people do what they do? And if it's wrong to humanize someone, anyone, you know, particularly a Jeffrey Dahmer, then call me wrong for that. But I like to look at everyone's actions as an action that is motivated by something. And what is that something? So when I think of Jeffrey Dahmer, yes, I'm disgusted by what he's done, but there still is a curiosity that I have to want to just figure out what led him to become what he has become, you know? So I really appreciate the Netflix series because it provides me with that context. It does humanize him. Yes, he's a monster still, you know, don't get me wrong, but prior to him becoming such a monster, he was a little boy. He was a little boy who was abandoned by both of his parents, essentially, really by his mom and by his dad for a few months. And I think there is a chemical imbalance in someone like that. Well, in him in particular, because, you know, there are plenty of people, unfortunately, who have experienced abandonment by their caregiver. And those people didn't end up like a Jeffrey Dahmer, right? They were able to still make something of their lives, live honorably, be respected and loved, and, you know, seen as just a good person. And and with that, it sparks up a curiosity for me, because it's like, how does one come from a similar traumatic background and end up doing good, right? End up doing well in their lives, while someone else ends up doing just very horribly with their lives? Like, what is the psychology in that? So I think there is a level of chemical imbalance present. And again, obviously, it's not, you can, like, stop it. No, but I think that is a conversation. So anyway, let's just continue talking about it. I promise I'm not gonna spend the whole episode like last time discussing it, but being that I have watched more episodes since the last episode of this podcast, there is an update to my Dahmer analysis. So let's discuss. Okay, so I'm on episode 6 or 7 from last I checked. I haven't watched since like 2 or 3 days ago from this recording. And so I plan to finish very soon. But in these latest episodes, I'm learning more about how abandonment has really wrecked him, Jeffrey Dahmer. How being abandoned by his caregivers, his parents, has really just fucked him up in a way that he can't stand for anyone to leave him. Whether it's just a legitimate reason, right? Like, I gotta leave to go to work, or I'm gonna go to my car, I forgot something in my car, or I'm gonna run to the store real quick, I'll be right back. He can't rationalize or comprehend how that is normal. And he can't trust that this person will return, because he thinks about his parents. Well, this is my theory, right? This is me putting on my psychiatrist hat and assessing the situation. I think he can't trust that these strangers, really, these mere strangers that he's met and maybe he's hung out with a couple of times, will come back. Because how can I trust a stranger when I couldn't even trust my parents? They didn't come back. My mom just left me. You know, when I tell you that scene was like, hey, Alec, I'm not, you're sympathizing with the kid. Like, I'm sympathizing with the young boy who, prior to becoming a killer, a serial killer, and a serial rapist, prior to him becoming that, he was abandoned. So I'm sympathizing to that Dahmer, right? So like, think about it from that perspective. Like, I'm pausing by every episode and assessing who he was in this perception that we're seeing in episode 3, in episode 6, in episode 7. That is what I am hopefully challenging you guys to look past. Like, look past the obvious. Obviously, what he did was disgusting. Obviously, you shouldn't kill people just because they abandoned you, or, you know, they have to go to work and they, you know, you're not gonna be able to talk to them for 5 hours because they're at work. Like, obviously, that is fucking obvious, right? But I think that, you know, if we spend so much time talking about the obvious, we fail to discuss the necessary. What is necessary to discuss here is the context, is the upbringing, is how one can perceive rejection in a way that is so damaging, and they view it from that lens, and they're never the same again. As for someone else, someone like you and me, who, you know, may have dealt with abandonment, rejection, shame, all these like normal human feelings and experiences that we go through here on earth, yet our reaction to it isn't to kill. Our reaction isn't to chop you up and eat you like beef broth, right? It is to cope and move forward. But what's the difference, right? What is the difference between you and a Jeffrey Dahmer? What is the difference between you and a Ted Bundy? You know, like, so like, we all dealt with a level of trauma, and some may have dealt with it on a higher level than others. Yet there are many people who have decided to still live rightfully just lives. Yet a Dahmer did not. So that is what like makes me so curious. Like, how does one turn that way? So I think, of course, with all the trauma that he's experienced in his upbringing, it's definitely cemented in his mind for him to believe that he is just such a failure. And he really, honestly, you know, people be like, yo, I'm a failure, I can't get shit right. Da, 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 da. No, he really is a failure. Like, oh my God, nigga failed everything. But let me not say everything, because he's really good at just to dissect it, and I hate to say that, right? Obviously, he dissected human bodies. No, but like, if he were to have honed into science more and use it for good, rather than, you know, taking human lives against their will and killing and dissecting them, had he not done it that way and decided to really hone in his skills in science and, you know, maybe become a veterinarian, or, you know, become a human doctor, you know, whatever that looks like, that could have really been just a better route, obviously. But I feel like for someone like him, he just had a really low self-esteem. You know, he didn't have anyone in his life who really believed in him. And though his father, when he did return to his life, his father was like, he tried his best, right? Like, his father was trying to get his son off, you know, just off on the right track, yet Dahmer flunked out of high school. He flunked out of college. He got expelled, and there was nothing they could do. Jeffrey Dahmer's dad said, okay, you're going to the army. I'm going to enlist you in the army. He goes to the army. He's there for just a year, and then he got dishonorably discharged. So boom, that's a failure. And then afterwards, he attempts to sexually abuse a 14-year-old young boy who happens to be of color. I think he's Asian. And the events in this scene, thankfully he was living with his grandma at the time, and his grandma happened to wake up right at the time when Jeffrey drugged this young boy. And prior to Jeffrey being able to do whatever he could have and would have done to him, his grandma just essentially was a cock blocker, thankfully. And she stayed in the room with Jeffrey and the young boy because she was concerned about the health of this young child. And she was yelling at Dom, like, what are you doing? This is not fun. This is not partying. Like, she didn't know what he was going to do. So she wasn't aware necessarily, but she did see that the young kid wasn't healthy. He was sweating bricks. He couldn't stand. He couldn't speak. He was spitting and all these things. And Dahmer was trying to say, oh, well, he's just drunk. Like, he's trying to dismiss it. Anyway, so thankfully the grandma stood her ground and said, no, I'm going to stay with him until he wakes up. And in the morning, I'm going to make sure he gets home safely and yada, yada, yada. So thankfully, that young kid wasn't harmed. Anyway, so after he finally wakes up and realizes what happened and what could have happened, he filed charges against Dahmer. And Dahmer was sent to prison for just 1 year for child sex abuse. And it's just wild because you have this white guy who has a record of failing and being basically a bum, like just a fucking loser. He failed high school. He barely passed. I think he did graduate high school, but he barely did. Just having disciplinary issues while in high school. So there's a record of that. He got expelled from from Ohio State. That's where he went. His first year got expelled because he flunked, and they just couldn't have him enrolled as a student anymore, so they expelled him. So boom, failure in that. He failed out of his first year in the army, and it's just like, nigga, what's wrong with you? What is the problem? And there was a scene when he was trying to tell his parents, well, his dad and his stepmom, because his dad ended up remarrying. He tells them, he was trying to gather up the courage to say, I'm just like a failure. I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't know. I can't get anything right. I'm a failure. Like, he was having this woe is me monologue. And it was a sad moment, honestly. You felt sympathy for, yes, I did. I fucking did. I did. Because in that moment, in that scene, I still felt sympathy. Fuck. Call me weak. Whatever you want to call me. But anyway, so he was saying in that scene how he felt like a failure. He can't get anything right. And I mean, it was an accurate description. Like, he really is a failure. And so his parents were just uncomfortable because they didn't know what to say, because you looking like a failure, and they can't really say that directly. They don't want to hurt him like that. And it looks like he was about to say that he's different from everybody. Well, he did start off by saying, I'm different from everybody, I'm just different. I don't like the same things people, other guys like. And look like he was about to confess that he is a flaming homosexual. And before he could have gotten anywhere close to that confession, his dad, who already knew, like his dad could already tell, yeah, this nigga's gay. He stopped him from doing so. He interrupted his speech and said whatever he said. And you just, in that moment, you see just, again, an example of the times and how, regardless of like, I don't know, I guess sometimes we fail to realize like how many families, especially back then, were still uncomfortable with the idea of their child, their male child being a homosexual. And so, that's a disappointment in his perspective. So he knew it, but he didn't want to hear it. And so he cut his son off from confessing that. Anyway, so fast forward to another moment that got my sympathy, y'all. Oh my gosh. What is wrong with me? I have too much of a heart. I really do. No, and it's not like, I don't want to fucking say, it's not like, y'all fucking know. Like, it's ridiculous. I'm not agreeing with anything that he's done. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? I don't know. I just think humanity as a whole, if you want to look at it from a spiritual lens, humanity as a whole is a fallen state. And so if you put your spiritual cap on, we're all just an inch away from being this crazy lunatic, in whatever capacity that looks like in your life. And I just think overall humanity is just fallen from grace, Anyway, so fast forward, he's living on his own. He's not living with his grandma anymore. He's living on his own, and he is frequenting this gay bar. Now, he's living in an area that is very predominantly African American. He is the only white boy there. And it is just a free-for-all for him. Like, I guess he subconsciously, because he never said directly in the episodes that I've watched so far, hey, I'm going to target black people. Like, he never said that. But I think, though, there is a bias to it, right? Because I think he is obviously aware of the privilege that he has as a white man. If you just think about all of the failures that he has experienced, right? Like, yes, he has experienced consequences for his actions. He didn't pass the first semester of college, therefore he got flunked out of school. He behaved poorly in the army, therefore he got discharged dishonorably. There's a record of him experiencing consequences, but yet, while still experiencing some consequences, he was not really experiencing the grunt of it in comparison to what a black man would have experienced. If you just think about the scene, I forget which episode, but either episode 6 or 5, in which Dahmer is sentenced to prison for being found guilty of the charge of sexual abuse towards a minor. Instead of getting like the full sentence or getting a harsh sentence, even during the trial, the white male judge was showing, I guess he was being like me, he was showing so much sympathy. No, but he was dismissive, really. He was dismissive of the action that was accused of him. And he was saying, oh, I see my nephew in you. And, he was excusing the alcoholism as the reason why he's on the wrong side of the tracks. And he was unable to be unbiased, really, in that moment. But isn't that you, Maxine? No, it's not me. Okay, I'm saying that voice just in case anyone else is thinking that while they're listening to this right now. No, I still think he deserves a slammer, and he deserved the slammer at all the times. I don't feel like... Anyway, let's move on. So the judge decided to... just kind of give him a slap on the wrist. He did sentence him to prison, but it was just for a year. And I just have a hard time believing if it was a black Jeffrey Dahmer, an Asian Jeffrey Dahmer, that the white male judge would have given them a slap on the wrist as well. Like, I highly doubt that. So what I'm saying is, like, regardless of the fact that he did experience consequences to his actions, his consequences were very light and very bearable, and there was light at the end of the tunnel. And it just wouldn't be the same thing if it was for a minority person instead. So let's get to fast forward later, right? So we fast forward later. He's living on his own. He's out of prison for that 1 year sentence of child sex abuse. And he's living in an area that's predominantly African American. He's frequenting a gay bar that happens to be right across or a block over from his apartment. And so when he frequents his gay bar, of course, he is finding his next victim, in which he's already collected a few. The current victim that I'm talking about right now that he collects is this black man, of course. And not only is he a gay black man, but he is a deaf black gay man. Like, I don't know the order to probably say that, right? And I really love how they started off this episode, because I was at first confused if I was on the right show, because the episode started off about this young black girl with her, it looked like to be her mother, and I was looking for the father, but of course the father's not in the fucking picture. Like, can we stop? Like, oh, can I just fucking look? I get it. After, like, there was a point in time in which the government really played a pivotal role in fathers leaving the home, but if you look at the time frame, this was in the mid 70s. I didn't think it happened that early, right? Like, I feel like in this example of a young black girl, and I don't know if she was young, but probably like 19, 20, still young. I still just assumed that the father would have been present. So to see no dad anywhere in the picture really was a strange sight for me, because from my understanding, I thought the epidemic of black fatherless households really started in the late 80s and beyond. So for this to have happened 1976, 1977, like around this time, I don't know. I mean, this is about a clear, obvious depiction of an actual victim, so I'm not necessarily refuting the truth of it, but I just find it to be it was a hard pill to swallow for me, because I really just believe that the black fatherless household didn't begin until the late 80s. But anyway, so the episode starts off with this black girl. She is pregnant. She gives birth, and her mother is the only caregiver of hers present in the picture. You don't see her father. You don't see her baby daddy. You don't see any of that. So anyway, I think it was like a couple of months after she gives birth, she goes back to the hospital. And she tells the doctor, like, hey, I'm noticing my son is experiencing some irritation, and he's not listening when I speak, or he's not following my voice. He just seems aloof. The doctor says, well, when we prescribed your son on an antibiotic for, I forgot why I think he had an infection. Sometimes the baby just get antibiotics for whatever reason. Included in that antibiotic was another thing. I think it was another antibiotic, but it was two things that was included in the prescription. And the side effect of that prescription was loss of hearing. And unfortunately, this is the case with your son. So basically, her son lost his ability to hear because of a prescription the doctor has prescribed him. If y'all don't get the fuck out of my face, are you serious? I don't know, like, what do you do? Right? Of course, now you have a son who's fucking deaf, right? And now you obviously will still love him and care for him, do your best by him, but now your whole life is rocked. My life is rocked now. It's changed. My baby's life is rocked now. And I mean, now, of course, all he would ever know is a life of no hearing. Like, that's not going to be new to him. But I just wonder, like, damn, did she file a case against the hospital, against America, against the state, against that doctor? Like, what did she do in reaction to that? Because nothing was necessarily said in direct response. All that was shown was her obviously feeling devastated, but you just see her acquiescing to this lemon that life has given her and making lemonade. But it was I was so disheartened by it. Well, more than disheartened, because how you tell me you gave me medicine to heal an infection on my baby and a big ass side effect is loss of hearing? Was that not communicated prior to you prescribing me this? Or did you tell me this? This may be a side effect, but don't worry, no one gets this. It's a 2% chance. Like, oh my gosh. And then, it really opens my mind to just the ignorance that we have as people, as people who trust doctors, rightfully so. You're supposed to, or you're conditioned to believe, to trust doctors, to trust them with your health, to trust that they have gone to school and they are well trained and well versed in their practice and they know what they're doing. And that's the thing with any practice, whether it's law, I'm practicing law, or I'm practicing teaching, or I'm practicing medicine. Everything's a fucking practice, and there are side effects, or there are consequences. There are things that don't go well, and it is what it is. But I just wonder if we stop putting our trust in doctors and decide our own what is best for ourselves and our loved ones, then how much better off we would have been. Because I wonder, had she not given him the prescription and, she didn't trust or, wasn't quick to give her trust to this doctor, of course her child wouldn't have become deaf. But I just, it's just sad. Like, damn. Like, and there's nothing you could do. It's not like, oh, just take this ointment and he'll be back to regular. No. He's deaf forever. It's done. You just have to live with it now. And, like, you have to now readjust your life according to it now. Yo, that's just crazy. Like, I don't know what I would burn the whole hospital down and you got to pay me. But, now it's just like, regardless of you paying me, right? Regardless of, the settlement that I could win over this case, the fact is my child is deaf now. And he wasn't deaf the first 5 months of his life, but now starting from month 6 of his life, he will be deaf, or he is deaf for the rest of his life. That is just so incredibly disgusting to me. And yes, all deaf people lives, their lives matter. But I just think about, like, damn, it's not like you were born this way, right? You were born normal, and now you became this way at fault of a doctor prescribing you something that had this horrible side effect. Why is this even a side effect? Like, why is loss of hearing a what? Like, it's like taking Tylenol. Oh, I got a headache, but the side effect may be losing your hearing. What? Oh, and there's no amount of broccoli you could eat to get it. You know what I mean? Like, this, I don't know. That was just really sad. I was so sad to hear that. Anyway, so we learn about how he became deaf, right? So he grows up to be this very handsome young gentleman, very well behaved. He's just well brought up. Like, she did a great job raising him. You know, he's turned out gay, right? But I'm kidding. No, but my point is, like, he has manners. He has his mindset straight. He is ambitious. He has dreams of being a model, and like, he's a stand-up guy. And I'm making a joke like, oh well, he's still not gay, right? I'm making that joke. Look, please, whoever's listening to me for the first time and don't know me personally or don't know me through these episodes, I don't have hate in my heart. I really do. I really have friends of every day. You know, people like, oh, I have a gay friend, I have a black friend. I really do. So I made that point because she is someone who is very religious. So she really believes in the word, in the Bible, and God. And so I'm sure there was a level of disappointment because, oh man, my son is gay, and how do I navigate that while still having faith in these religious doctrines that I'm following? So that's what I mean. But she's still, like, regardless of that, she didn't let hate in her heart grow against her son. She didn't treat him any different. Like, he was loved. He wasn't treated poorly. You know, his sisters, at least one sister, we know from a scene that was shown to us that she was aware of his sexual orientation, and she would, like, be emotionally supportive, and it was just, he was a loved young man, yo. It was, gosh, fucking Dahmer. He was a loved young man, really, really much so. Anyway, so he's gay, right? So he's gay. He's at this gay bar, the same gay bar that Dahmer frequents. And despite him being deaf, he has, like, a big personality. Like, he doesn't have any hiccups about life. He has just a very positive mindset. He doesn't get upset when people have to adjust their way of interacting because he's deaf, right? You know, some people are uncomfortable with that. Some people don't know how to handle speaking to someone with that handicap. And so he doesn't see it as a way of feeling rejected or feeling like he's unworthy. He still pushes, like, and I honestly, like, I love how they depicted him and just demonstrated him throughout this episode, because it really inspired me, like, just me. Like, wow, like, look at this young man. Despite the obstacles that he has experienced in his life, he still has a positive mindset. He still is ambitious. He still has confidence. He still has the self-esteem that is so well put together. Like, wow, like, that is inspiring. And I think that is just a great demonstration of who he is. So at the very least, I like that he was shown in a way that is admirable. So hopefully his family members may see it in the way that I'm seeing it. But I do understand that there are surviving family members who are so upset about this series because they feel like it is re-traumatizing, and that's, you know, they're well within their right to feel that way. But you know, TV is what the fuck it is. Like, dog, like, you can't really, yes, at the very least, I do feel like they should be compensated and, you know, whatnot. But we're not getting started. Let's focus on what I was just saying. Let's go back to what I was saying. So, boom. he's at this club, he's dancing, he has deaf friends, and they're just like, being deaf together, having a good time. It's fine. Like, life is good. And it's like, why is this? I know, it's weird, right? He's deaf, but he's at a club. Whatever, child. He's dancing. He knows how to dance. He knows how to move. Somehow, maybe he hears something. I don't know how it works. God bless his soul. Anyway, he has a beautiful personality. Very beautiful. Dahmer sees him. He's attracted to him. He's like, he likes his dance moves. So he goes up to him, or actually, what's his name? Oh, his name is Tony. So Tony notices that Dahmer is seeing him and watching him, and his deaf friend is like, oh, he's doing the sign language, talking to him like, oh, he's checking you out, you better go talk to that white boy. Like, they have so much personality. I was speaking it in the way that they would talk. And so Tony goes up to Dahmer at the bar, and Dahmer soon realizes very quickly, oh shit, he's deaf. But yeah, that wasn't, I guess maybe in Dahmer's mind, he was like, oh, perfect. I have more advantage, now that you've revealed this handicap. But despite that, though, he held back. There was some level of resistance that Dahmer demonstrated throughout the time that they dated. They were actually dating. They spent time together, went out to eat. He went over his house prior to Dahmer finally killing him. But anyway, they dated, and you could see Dahmer was resisting from drugging the man. There was a couple of scenes of Dahmer having his date rape drug in hand, like he always has, and he was about to pour it into Tony's drink, but he decided not to. And instead, he gives Tony the drink as is. Tony is drinking, but he's not drugged, and he's able to still make sound decisions and not get taken advantage of and all these things. And we see a couple of scenes of Dahmer still resisting from finally doing so. Boom. Up until one scene of Tony and Dahmer at Dahmer's home. They're together, just them two, and Tony is, so he goes to sleep with him. He spends the night. We don't see any like sexual scenes. We don't see any but you can make the assumption that they fucked. But what I liked about Tony, though, despite him being gay and being raised in a religious household, like him being gay, sometimes with gay people, it's like, I want to fuck, right? I want to fuck. Everything that's moving, find me a butthole, I'm fucking, right? It's very lustful. Yet with him, despite him being gay, he still was interested in love. Do I sound homophobic? I'm making a point. Y'all stop playing with me. Y'all, there are plenty of gay people who are just interested in fucking. I'm not spewing a stereotype. I'm speaking facts. No, obviously not every black person likes fried chicken, right? Obviously not every I'm saying there are many who do. Okay, that's what the fuck I'm saying. Anyway, what's his name? Tony wasn't into that fast lifestyle because, yes, there is that fast, overly sexualized lifestyle in the gay community. And yet Tony, despite him being gay, he was not about that lifestyle. He was still into he's so stupid. He was still into finding love and really developing a genuine relationship with a man. And so he was just a really stand-up guy. God, so anyway, he was giving Dahmer the play around, he was letting Dahmer earn him and pursue him. So it took a while for Tony to accept the house invitation, and it took a while for Tony to get close to him and finally have sex with him. So we don't see the scene, but we do see that he slept over, so we can make the assumption that they probably did have sex. So anyway, they wake up and you see you see Tony about to, he's about to leave because he realizes, oh my gosh, I have to get ready to go to work. You know, I went to see, hold on, I'm responding to a text. That scene of the guy getting shot. So anyway, what happened? So Tony is about to get up and go to work because he realizes the time and he can't be late to go to work. So you see him about to get up and go. Dahmer is freaking out. Okay? He wants him to stay. He can't take abandonment again. And even though this is not necessarily abandonment, but in his perception, he's viewing this as abandonment, right? Like, why are you leaving? Why you gotta go? I gotta go to work. What do you mean, why? And yet, what I like about Tony, though, like, he wasn't upset with him. He wasn't giving him a hard time. Like, he's very calm and just like, he's a nice guy. Oh, it's so sad. Like, damn, you really had to kill him. Anyway, so he lets him go. Yet you see that Dahmer was about to kill him. He had a hammer in the back of, he was holding a hammer in his back, with the back of his hand. And instead of finally swinging it at him, he decides not to. And what's his name? Tony was like, I need you to trust me. I'll be back next week. And so Dahmer he's calming down. He decides not to kill him in that instance. So Tony leaves to go to work. Okay. Phew. Dodged a bullet. Maybe this is a survivor. Maybe he didn't, maybe they just fizzle out and, this one finally is, not a victim of Dahmer's killings. Nope. So Tony returns 5 minutes later because he forgot his keys. This nigga forgot his keys. Ah, fuck. He's about to die. So he forgot his keys, right? And right before he was about to leave again, Dahmer realizes, no, I can't let you go. So boom, what that nigga do? He hit him right from the back with the hammer. Done. Okay, so we see what happens and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so after that explanation, what I assess from that is he has extreme abandonment issues. Dahmer has extreme abandonment issues, and he feels like he just can't take anyone leaving him. And despite the legitimate reason as to why said person has to go for however long, he just can't take it. So I think in his mind, again, this is me assessing and just making my own analysis. I think in his mind, he sees it as, you can't ever leave me, right? Like, you can't ever leave me. Therefore, I'm going to kill you, right? I'm not going to give you the option to leave me. I'm going to take away that option from you, and that's going to be by me killing you. And I think that really is his rationale. That is his way of coping and protecting himself from being hurt of the reality of someone disappearing from his life. I really think that's his rationale. And I also feel like him killing these people is his way of also preserving them, because of course, not only after he kills them, he then chops them up. He sometimes eats them, or he'll just store their body parts. I think that is his way of just keeping them in some form or fashion. And, so whether he's eating their heart, their leg, their arm, then, okay, I have a piece of you inside of me forever, or for a long period of time, depending on when I poo you out, right? Or, I literally have a body part of you that is stored in my freezer, and you can't ever leave me now. You're always like that. I feel like that's how he's thinking about it. I really feel like that is how he's thinking about it and how he is going about his killing sprees. As soon as they say, I gotta go, that is a trigger for him. And it's like, oh, you gotta go? Oh, let me go ahead and kill you. Anyway, so I think it's this extreme abandonment issues. And I do wonder, had he been in therapy from the time when his mother abandoned him, you know, from that age, not even that age, earlier on, when he witnessed his mother overdose, but she wasn't successful in it. I wonder where his mom is now, because in the latest scenes so far, we don't see any reappearance of his mother or his younger brother, but I do hear that his younger brother is alive and he's living a private life. And I think he actually changed his last name. But I do wonder about the mother, though. Like, did she ever return at any point? Did she, is she still here? Did she recently pass? Like, what is that? What is that about? But I think, like, had he been mandated to see a therapist at that point when he witnessed his mother try to overdose, that is traumatized. Like, what was that going? But this was a different time. So that was the early 60s when he was a young boy and he witnessed such behavior from his mother, and he had to witness just a hectic household. And it was a lot for a young kid. But I don't think therapy during this time, this was the 60s, therapy probably wasn't encouraged or even, I just can't. It's just a lot. It's a lot. I feel like, I gotta finish the rest of the series. I'll give you guys an update. I did not mean to spend 46 minutes talking about this again, but I wanted to give my Dahmer update. Okay, let's go ahead and discuss Tiffany Haddish and Aries Spears. There has been a close to this case. The case was dismissed. We see that Jane Doe, the young woman the young girl who is now a woman, she said initially that she was groomed and sexually molested by Aries Spears and Tiffany Haddish during the filming and the preparation of that skit that's titled "In the Eyes of the Pedophile." And she was initially very adamant of her being violated, and not just her, but also her younger brother. So we see things are finally kind of like not really discussed much when it comes to this case. We don't see much discussion happening, and now we understand why, because the case has been dismissed. So the quote is from this young girl, from Jane Doe. She says, "My family and I have known Tiffany Haddish for many years, and we now know that she would never harm me or my brother or help anyone else do anything that could harm us. We wish Tiffany the best and are glad that we can put all of this behind us." Okay. End quote. That was that. So nothing, like, what do you mean? Now you know Tiffany Haddish for many years and you know that she would never harm. Okay, so what was a claim that you made before? Did she harm you or did she not? You know what I mean? Like, what? Something is not adding up, because it was a lie. Because this was fabricated. Now, yes, there is a video. We all watched it. Many of us went on the Googler, went on Twitter, and found the clip. You know I did. I couldn't get through the whole thing because it was awfully disturbing. But we do see an actual skit in this context that was disturbing and cringe. But we don't see necessarily proof of neither one of them sexually molesting either one of those kids. Instead, we see a skit being developed and assumptions being made based off of the tenor of this script. Understandably so, but the claim was that they molested me. So, okay, we want to hear victims, but this is the problem when you have quote unquote victims who aren't victims. This is a problem when you have people who claim that they were sexually assaulted and they weren't. And now they come forward talking about, oh, now we understand. Oh, it was just a misunderstanding. How you misunderstand being sexually molested? What are you talking about? Right? How is that a misunderstanding? Like, what? Anyway, it's just horrible because, not to say that I'm trying to back up. I don't really care for Haddish like that or Aries Spears. Now, I really think Aries Spears is funny. I do. I really like them. I just remember Mad TV. It's just like a nostalgic moment. Whenever I think about Mad TV, it reminds me of my childhood. And I remember the characters from that show that had me rolling on the floor, on the concrete. I was rolling outside because I was laughing so fucking hard. That show was amazing. And Aries Spears had a lot to do with it. So Aries Spears will always just have just a space in my heart. It's a little space in my heart because Mad TV really just, oh man, it had me going. Like, it really just introduced me to, well, it was one of the things that introduced me to comedy. Like, oh my God, this is comedy. This is hilarious. Anyway, so I'm not trying to say back up Haddish and Spears. I'm just saying this all sounded fishy from the beginning. And though the skit was inappropriate and just weird, like I said, I think everything could be made into a joke. I think every experience, every trauma could be used as a way to get a joke off. Like, everything could be a joke. Everything's fucking funny. Really, you just gotta be a good writer and a good orator to really express the joke in something that is traumatic. But I just, from the beginning, I felt like the situation was sketchy because you just didn't understand how there was a previous case that they made, and where was the mom when the skit was being made, and how come the mom wasn't aware of said skit? And there were so many questions that were unanswered, and being that there was a previous case that was filed but it was unsuccessful, it showed me that, okay, there's a motive here to really shake down these two celebrities who have money. At least with Haddish, she has more money, at the very least optically, we could say. And with Spears, he said directly, this is a shakedown and I will not falter, yada yada yada. So I saw it for what it was, and this article doesn't say necessarily what was this, why was it dismissed? I mean, yes, I just read that quote, but there was nothing more beyond that. So we don't know exactly if, I don't know if they were paid off. I mean, obviously they were, right? But it's not said directly in this article. So one could just make that assumption. So anyway, that is that. It's an unfortunate situation because now you have just this attachment to Haddish and Spears' name because, of course, when people are going to look up about you, they're going to read about this horrible case and this accusation. So that's going to last more. And, maybe give it some time and it'll be over. But it's just, it's just fucked up. I just feel bad because you have actual victims out here who don't get time to go to court and make a claim or, file a lawsuit or a civil suit, whatever it is. And you have someone like this who just saw this as an opportunity to make some money. To make some money. Now, whatever, child. Whatever. Okay. Ime Udoka. Let's just wrap up this conversation until more details are displayed. Now, if you haven't been aware of this case, you have Ime Udoka, who is the Celtics coach for the last recent year or last recent years. Anyway, he is responsible for the success of this new and improved Celtics team, just really making a way and name for themselves, and things were looking good. Like, he was a head honcho in the field of basketball, and yeah, whatever. Anyway, he got caught slipping, and he was suspended, or he has been suspended for having a consensual affair with a female employee of the Celtics organization. Now, I think here we have to recognize that, unfortunately, there are organizations and jobs overall, workplaces, that are restrictive against fraternization and just overall relationships that are beyond professional, specifically romantic and sexual relationships amongst coworkers. And it's just very stupid, honestly. Like, you know, you spend 40 hours at the very least weekly with your coworkers, you're bound to fuck one of them. I mean, what are we talking? Like, what are we talking? Hello? Like, you're bound to fuck one of them. You're bound to have developed intimate feelings for them. You're bound to eventually explore those intimate feelings and become sexual or romantic with said person. Because, you know, and you're bound to do this regardless of whatever situation you have at home. Like, what? Like, this whole, like, work wife and work husband, this is a real thing. And, I mean, it's what it is. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what else to say about that. Have I been... Look, there's been a few instances in my years as a professional in several capacities. Not just like... I'm talking about like years ago. Like, I remember prior to me moving to Houston, and I was working at another workplace. There was this guy who I just really connected with, and we just vibed, and, you know, we didn't have sex. We did not have sex. We just connected really well, made out, but that was it. But the point is, like, that shit happens. Like, shit happens. And I just felt like in this case with Ime Udoka, it initially started off as, oh, well, he was found to have had a consensual affair with a female employee. It just felt like, okay, so, like, why are we talking about it? Like, why is this bringing us into their business? Like, why is this something that we are aware of? And, you know, granted, we live in a world where we idolize and worship, obviously, like, celebrity topics and, like, things that's going on in the sport world, in the movie world, you know, obviously why, you know, we have podcasts and shows. We talk about other things that are going on in other people's lives, at least to an extent, or just like popular topics. So look, it keeps me potting, right? So it's fine. But I think what bothered me about this case was, it was just ridiculous. Like, the suspension, the consequence didn't seem like it was worth it, and it didn't feel like it was necessary to have this public shaming of this guy. Now, more things are being revealed, and the initial claim of it being consensual is now conflicting with the claim of there were some unwanted advances that he made towards said woman. And now, not only did he have a relationship with a female employee, but it is now claimed to have been multiple female employees of the organization. So I don't know what the truth is to that. All I am hearing more consistently is that at least the initial woman is the wife of the VP of the organization. So, and it took for a conversation to be had while she was outside of her home, and she had a Ring, the Ring doorbell where it records visually and audibly what is happening outside. She was having a conversation outside with Ime Udoka, and I guess he was talking, sexy, and like, you like when my dick is in your mouth, like, shit like that. And her husband found out and decided to do an investigation because he didn't know exactly what was going on until he figured it out by hiring a PI, a private investigator. So, whatever. Shit happens, though. I don't know. I just give me stuff. Now people talking about like, oh, how could he do that to Nia Long? Da, da, da. Yo, what? Beyonce got cheated on. Halle Berry got cheated on. Who, like, the list goes on. Like, everyone could get these cheating hands. Like, everyone. I'm not saying this is not hurtful for her. I get it. Like, it's not an ideal situation. I'm not here trying to be like, oh, everyone should be unconventional. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just saying, like, it's just the onslaught of shaming of this man. I just feel like we're missing the mark here. I feel like the focus that we have on this case, yes, it's sensationalized and it's enticing to discuss. So I get it on that hand, but I feel like there's just this. Okay, can we talk about Brett Favre? That's the last name, right? Favre, I think. Can we talk about his embezzlement of welfare money that he used on his own for his own personal gain? Can we talk about how when other previous employees of the Celtics organization, there was a previous coach or VP who was found to have been racist, yet his consequence was nearly not as harsh as Ime Udoka's. Like, there's an imbalance. That's the point I'm saying. There's an imbalance here. Like, we're so quick to, like, put the scarlet letter on a cheating situation when we don't focus our time on systemic oppression. We don't focus our time on just systems in place that are oppressive, and how you have white men in power. There was a case of, I think he was a coach. I don't know what team, but some team in basketball, and he was saying the word nigga. And he was saying that very casually. He's like, well, if y'all could say it, then why can't I? And, being that he was of an elite position, he felt more entitled and more privileged and just strong in that stance. Like, oh, well, y'all say it so freely, why can't I? And unfortunately, there are a lot of white people who do believe that, and maybe that's another conversation. Like, maybe we shouldn't say the N-word around white people, or maybe not say it at all. Like, I don't know. Maybe that is a conversation that we could explore at another time. But the point is, like, why are you still saying it? So you have something like that where when he said it, there wasn't enough backlash, or there wasn't enough consequence or harsh consequences as there is for Ime Udoka. So it's just okay. It's just tiring. But I'm gonna be up to speed with it because I think it's still sensationalized and enticing to discuss. Okay, I'm gonna wrap up with DJ Akademiks. Look, I like the guy. I really do like him. I think, yes, he is outrageous and loud, and I don't know. I like I like that. I like that he stands in his own. That's what I like. I like niggas like that. I like people like that. I like people who stand in their opinion and don't waver. And what I like about him, though, is that he's not kissing up to anybody. He was able to make a name for himself simply by the support of the people who rock with him, who constantly tune into his videos, to his live streams, to his Twitches. Like, he has a large following, and he didn't need the backing of a rapper or, an industry, a deal, a rap label to get him to where he is now. And he is very successful, not just financially, but he's made a name for himself. So I really just respect how he's gotten to where he is. And that's what I really just respect about him and like about him. So his take, he's had some recent takes lately that has caused controversy. And I just feel like he's just a punching bag, because I think ultimately when you have someone like him who made it without compromising anything, right? Who made it without having to be anyone's lapdog, there is some jealousy that many people in the celebrity world feel against him, because they probably had to suck some ass, get fucked in the ass in order to get to where they are today. And when they see an Akademiks who is just the complete opposite of how they came to be successful, they're hating, because shit, like, I got it the hard way, the hard way. And though Akademiks didn't necessarily make it easy, he still didn't have to compromise his morals, unlike many especially celebrity men, rappers at that. So anyway, so he had these comments about Reginae Carter, who is Lil Wayne's daughter. And Reginae Carter was with this rapper named YFN Lucci, I think that's his name. And I think he's currently in prison. So yeah, that didn't work out. But prior to him being in prison, she was with this guy. She was with him. And it was like this like thug love situation, very cute, and I got my thug life, whatever. And as soon as he got sentenced to prison, boom, she left him. Or like even prior to him getting sentenced, as soon as it became clear that he was going to go to prison, she walked her ass out of that relationship and was like, yeah, no, absolutely not. And now she's with this new guy who's definitely not as street as YFN Lucci. And he looks a little zesty. He does give me homosexual vibes. So, whatever, girl. But okay. So anyway, so she is with this new guy. They're creating mukbang videos together on YouTube. And what mukbang is, in case I don't know where that word comes from, I haven't done my research, but basically a mukbang YouTube video is when you are filming yourself eating food, and the video is zoomed in on you eating whatever meal you're eating. So if you're cracking crab legs, you see the video focused and zoomed in on you cracking that crab leg and sucking on the crab meat and slurping it down. Like, it's literally a video you eating. And there's millions of views for mukbang videos. It's the weirdest thing. Like, why you watch people eat? That's so weird to me. Anyway, but this is a trend. And so many of her videos with this guy is of that trend. So DJ Akademiks was talking about that and was saying how, like, Reginae Carter just up and left YFN Lucci, and she's now with this new guy, yada, yada, yada. But while he was discussing this, he happened to say bitch in reference to Reginae Carter. He wasn't calling her this dumbass, but like, he wasn't saying it like that. He was just saying it very passively. You know how I use the N-word? No, I'm saying the N-word. You know how I say nigga? Sometimes passively. Maybe I need to work on that. Maybe I shouldn't say it anymore, but it's a natural thing for me to say. But anyway, I use it passively, and I'm not using it in a way to be derogatory. And I think that is the case in this moment with Akademiks. I don't think when he said bitch in reference to Reginae Carter, he wasn't calling her a bitch in a derogatory way. He was like, this dumb. Like, he wasn't saying it like that. You know, you have to be mindful of the context in which you use words. And I don't think in this context, he was using it in a way to be derogatory. But, you know, granted, you could still have a problem with it, whatever. So now you see Reginae Carter's mom, Toya Carter, she's calling him out, and you see T.I. is now getting involved because Reginae is his niece, and okay, like, can y'all stop? I feel like you have some people in the industry who claim that they're this tough, like T.I., for example, he's like this tough guy. Like, first of all, he has a Napoleon complex. Okay, he's a short guy, and I feel like he tries to demonstrate this hard exterior to make us believe that he's not one to be messed with. And maybe so. Maybe he isn't one to be messed with. Maybe he really is about that life and yada, yada, yada. But I just don't like short men. Like, let's just start there. I just don't like short men. No, I just feel like short men is just like this constant aggression. Like, of them trying to prove something, you know? How can I prove to you that I'm not to be messed with? Like, just relax, dog. Like, just relax and grow a couple of inches. You know, just relax. So anyway, T.I.'s getting in the mix and trying to, like, get at DJ Akademiks, and it's just stupid. Like, leave him alone. Like, y'all purposely trying to pick on Akademiks because you see him has an easy punching bag, and that's what I don't like. Like, stop trying to pick on this guy. Like, he is a successful young black man in this industry, whether you like it or not. Let him rock. Like, congratulate him. Like, mind your business. You guys are public figures. At this point, you're a public figure. You know Reginae Carter, who is an adult young woman. She's in her early 20s. She's not a child. She's not a minor. I know she's someone's child, right? She's Lil Wayne's and Toya Carter's daughter, but she's not a child anymore. She is an adult. She's a full adult. And so she is a full figure. She's a public figure. And she's gonna catch these comments. Like, let's stop. Like, no one's fucking off limits. Everyone could catch these comments. So I just feel like it's unfair for them to speak about DJ Akademiks in a way like this. And the other comment that he made about the hip hop pioneers being dusty. Ooh, excuse me. Now, that is the wrong choice of words, though. I get what he was trying to say as far as, you know, how are you a pioneer of hip hop? You know, this groundbreaking lifestyle and genre and movement that has opened doors for so many rappers and so many artists and just a culture, all these things. And yet financially you're broke, right? Financially, you don't have just the money to support the fact that you are a pioneer. Now, I think, though, I get what he was trying to say as far as, like, how does 1 equals 2, right? But I think, or 1 + 1 = 2. I think, though, you know, he failed to discuss that you have an industry that initially wasn't as profitable or profitable in the beginning at all. And if it was profitable, you didn't have the knowledge of that given and educated to young rappers. So they were not only taken advantage of, but they didn't know any better. And it's not their fault that they were quote unquote dusty because of this. Like, the industry, and you have, you know, these labels who are purposely looking to take advantage of you and see you as a perfect target. And so they're looking at young, black, uneducated young men and women who they could get to sign on to their deal because they know that they can make money off of you, but you're not going to really pay attention to this contract. And you're going to have to pay me back this advance, and you're never going to really make money from this deal, but we're going to make it seem like you're good with us. So I think, of course, Akademiks failed to discuss that portion of the situation, but you have to keep in mind when Akademiks it's like with anything like that's on, that's content creation, right? Whether it's a podcast, whether it's a live stream, whether it's a YouTube video, we don't all, like, I'm not always saying the right things. Like I probably sometime throughout this episode, you probably was like, what, Maxie? Like, whatever, like just whatever. No, but like it's unfair to hold someone hostage of their words and not allow them to explain or better articulate what they're saying. And I try to do my best to think before I speak, but sometimes you find yourself like maybe 40 minutes in, an hour, 2 hours into an episode on whatever platform, and you're just like, shooting the shit. You're saying whatever. You at this point, you're delirious. Okay, you're not even with us right now, and you say something that's foolish. So that's just it just is what it is. I don't think he was. I think I do have a bias for DJ Akademiks though, but again, I feel like we have to give credit or give grace specifically for him, because he's on these live streams for like 4 hours straight. They caught this portion of the live stream and, of course, singled it out, and now he's being hated on, and it's just unfortunate. I whatever. But I don't know. I like him. I think he's a cool guy. I just like how I like what he stands for. In my opinion, I think he represents a particular identity that is admirable as far as just believing in yourself and going for it and not compromising your morals. That's what I see in him, and that's what I fucks with. I really support that and I respect that. So I think it's dope. I think what he's doing is dope, and I think we should have grace. All right, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and end the episode here. Thank you so much for listening, and I will check in with you guys next time. Peace. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of God Built This Podcast with your host, Maxine. Be sure to leave a review, give me 5 stars, and of course, subscribe. Also, follow God Built This Podcast on Instagram at God Built This Pod. God bless.